We have about 260 acres of corn that we use for silage, and we put a cover crop on all of those acres, about 260. I started using cover crops maybe a decade ago when we were actually farming more acres. It was pretty much just cereal rye at that time. But 5 years ago we began to implement what we call not really a cover crop program, but a double crop program. So we put out triticale and annual ryegrass, and then we harvest that in the spring. It's a very much more intensive crop rotation for us. So we started that in right at 4 years ago, I guess it would be. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cover crops are not a new practice, but they're kind of being renewed. Cover crops really are just any kind of crop that covers the soil in between the cash crops. So the name really is very indicative of what they are. So we want to protect the soil against erosion, and that's what cover crops, that's the traditional use of cover crops.
Advantages are we can do several things with cover crops in that off season between the field crops we're actually trying to grow out there. We might be concerned about maybe controlling erosion, water quality, nutrient management and cycling, pest control, either weeds or insects or cysts in the soil. And cover crops give us a chance, if we choose the right cover crop, given what their characteristics are, to kind of do those type of things.
Well, so we've improved soil health, we've reduced our fertilizer cost, and reduced our herbicide cost as well. So we're finding a lot of benefits by using the cover crops.
The challenge is that most of those benefits are not immediate to the farmer. So certainly it's a little bit easier to kind of sell the concept to farmers on their own land that they hope to be passing down to the next generation. It's a little tougher where they're renting ground unless they have a longer term lease, because they may not see the benefits within a year or two. It's something that builds up.
Our experience with cover crops has been very positive. We have reduced our cost of production significantly, even with the additional cost of the cover crops. It works really well for a dairy that has manure to apply. So for our particular situation, since we're in this double crop situation, it extends our growing season to 24 months out of the year. So we're growing something all the time. Harvesting in the spring delays our corn planting a little bit, but that's okay because we're harvesting corn silage, and actually our corn silage harvest happens after the larger dairies in the area, so our custom operator can get to us a little better. Timing works out perfectly.
But I think there's two important reasons for farmers to look at cover crops. First is to improve their soil health. Cover crops can do a lot of things like we've kind of mentioned: soil erosion to preserve what's currently there, water quality from what's coming off the field, conserving the nutrients and keeping them cycling or producing nitrogen in some cases in the field, and of course pest control, which is all important for crop production. The other thing is there's a lot of regulatory problems that farmers are starting to find come their way, and the cover crops are kind of one of the ways we're looking at to try to help control these problems.
There are many different types of cover crops. We sometimes classify them into three main categories. There would be the grasses or cereals like cereal rye, annual ryegrass, winter wheat, winter barley, oats, things like that. There would be the legumes like vetch, clover, pea, and then there would be all the others. So cover crops have really, there's been a huge growth in interest in cover crops over the last, I'd say, 3 years or so, particularly in the eastern corn belt, so particularly in Indiana and Ohio and Michigan.
Well, we will definitely continue to use cover crops. Every year we see the soil improvement, and we have not, because the soil is healthier, we have healthier corn plants. We have not needed to use any fungicides, any insecticides, virtually nothing. This is a healthy corn crop with very low inputs right now. Our inputs consist of a cover crop seed and manure and one cultivation. So that puts our costs for our corn silage very low compared to some of my neighbors and fellow dairy farmers. So yes, we're going to continue using cover crops, definitely.